All right, good morning everyone. You've made it here. Thank you, thank you. So, this is my second time on this stage. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking, but every time I prepare my slides, I want to imagine, okay, this is going to be something helpful, hopefully. So let me know after the presentation whether you find this helpful. I think that's my encouragement in terms of whether I want to do this again and put me through this misery next year. But just to open up the floor for some food for thought, I want to see a show of hands. If anyone here loves to take a challenge. All right, okay. Don't forget to raise your hands. Now, before we decide to take the challenge, which is the point of this presentation, who here loves AI? Raise your hands. Okay, just trying to count. Who here loves cats or dogs? Shit, okay. Better than AI, good. Who here loves humans? Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes. There's always a fine print. Depends, right? So what is this talk that I'm trying to talk about? I'm actually challenging myself and everyone here to talk about or to practice the skills. The skill that I think it's underrated. It's less practiced, but I would argue it's probably the most important skill that you're going to need in the age of AI. Now, I know there's a lot of productivity talks. There's a lot of like how to use ChatGPT, how to be a prompt engineer and all that. I love to use it myself. But I also ask myself this question: what happens when AI is so good that it can do 90% of the work humans do? How do I fight against the machine? So, rationally, I tell myself, well, what can't AI do? AI can pretend to be a human, but AI is not really a human. So if we want to fight against the AI, the natural conclusion is one of them, or simply be more human, right? So, this is the challenge. I challenge you today, after the speech, to practice and be more human. Has anyone listened to the podcast of DOAC? Diaries of an Entrepreneur? Okay. Diaries of what? I forgot. Diaries of the CEO, yes. So I was just listening to this podcast about 2 weeks ago, and this got me thinking a lot about the current problem in human society. I'm not saying that I can solve it, but I'm just saying that I'm willing to take up this challenge. Because do people agree that relationship crisis is actually a thing? Right. But why? But why? Sorry? Technology, exactly, right? Technology makes life easy. And we love easy. Dealing with humans is not easy. Relationships are not easy. It's fucking annoying. You cry. You don't want to talk to people anymore. You just want to be at home. You just want to practice self-love. Right? That's what they tell you. Fuck the people. Just love yourself. Right? Now, I truly think there's something going on that if we don't talk more about this, then the problem is just going to go worse and worse. So that's why I think my life at this moment of time is dedicated to just take up the challenge of deciding, knowingly building relationships. So if you haven't met me before, I'm originally from Hong Kong. I moved to Chiang Mai about 8 years ago, and I started these two co-living places called Alt Chiang Mai and Alt Ping River. And people ask me, why do I do this, right? Obviously it's a business and I want to make money, but it's also the hardest business I believe anyone can do because the profit margins are low. I have to deal with a lot of humans. And this is in Thailand, which is not my home, so I have to speak another language to deal with people that I am not familiar with. Now, why do I do this? But it's also the same reason why I love humans. And every day I go to work, this is something that makes me joyful, you know? And I also feel like if I can do more of this and if more people experience this, they can also find joy in learning how to build relationships. Now, some of you have been to Alt, I believe. Can you show hands? Yeah, cool. And I think everything that added up to my current stage of life, doing a building a co-working and a co-living brand, is not by coincidence, and it's also not something that I aim to do at the beginning. But I want to say it's everything that I learned from my life that led me to this point. So I was never good at dealing with people. I don't think anyone is born with the skills of being with people. I think it's kind of one of those skills that you really need to learn by yourself, right? So I think there's three pivotal moments in my life, and today I want to talk about these three moments briefly. I don't expect anyone to already oh, I know the skills and I'm going to be super good at it, but if you hear me out from these three pivotal moments, I hope you can get something out from this. Now, the first thing that taught me a great lesson in life was after I quit my 9 years of career at hospitality, and I start being an independent salesperson. You look at my face, you look at this, can you imagine me selling skincare products? Yes. Why not? Okay. Well, I couldn't imagine myself, but I took on the challenge. Why? I don't know. But when I quit my job and I said, okay, let me do this network marketing thing so I can sell products, so I can make money, I was basically taking up the biggest challenge in my life. How I want to be accountable for my results, because I don't take a salary anymore, it's all commission-based, and how I need to talk to people about a topic that I don't have any idea about. But because of this experience that I have maybe 4, 5, 6 years of just trying to talk to people, I think it really got me understanding what was my problem before. And my problem before was, if I were to talk to anyone, and it doesn't really matter if it's selling a product or just making a conversation or building a relationship, there's a judgment in me that when I see someone, I immediately decide whether I want to like the person or not. Or I immediately decide whether this person is going to be a potential lead or not. And I didn't know that my immediate judgment would lead me to a path for failure, because I always thought I'm a little better than others. I don't know why. Maybe it's my education level. Maybe I'm from Hong Kong. I went overseas to studies. Back in the days, that was a privilege. But this little judgment that I have, every time I engage with people, would lead me to just being rejected. And so it was over a year that my mentor told me, John, you have no problem in communication. You have no problem in skills in terms of selling people. Your problem is you don't want to learn how to just empty yourself, how to just learn from the basics, and how not to judge. And so that was my first pivotal moment that I have to relearn everything in life. After like 15 years, 20 years of education, after like 9 years working in hospitality industry. I don't have enough of time to explain everything, obviously, but just 3 simple steps. If you can take this and try to use it when you start talking to people, and if you want to try a different way, like I mentioned, don't judge. I think it requires a lot of practice, but if the first moment you see a person, it doesn't have to be the skin color or the background or the profession or the first word that comes from their mouth, right? Just hold yourself a little bit and say, okay, I want to argue with this person, but maybe I don't want to argue first, right? I think that's the first thing you want to do if you want to really try building relationships. The second thing I want to say is, find the need. And when you find the need, and in sales, right, we're talking about how to build business relationships. I always think if you're not hearing people, their need, you're just talking to a wall. And that's a lot of the not so great salespeople do. They just want to pitch. That's their job. I'm just going to talk to 1 million people, and then it's a numbers game, and then 10%, 1% of the person is going to buy my stuff. I don't like that approach, so active listening, finding the need, I think those are important skill sets that one needs to practice. And I think another thing that is better than just telling people how good is your product or service or yourself is really just to share your personal experiences in something that's relevant to that conversation or to that person. There's nothing better than just telling your experiences that people can relate to and be like, yeah, I'm like you. Yes. Tell me more. So that's a very important moment of my life that I understood how I was doing things wrong and how I'm trying to do things differently. My clock says 12 minutes, so I'm freaking out a little bit. But I'm going to try to pace myself on this. Has anyone heard of this entity called Business Network International, BNI? It's a very old school thing. Oh, there's one hand. Okay. When I was starting to develop my own business, someone convinced me to go to this group, BNI, which is a business networking group essentially, right? And everyone who's a member there is running some sort of small, medium-sized business. And one thing that got me really interested to becoming part of this is because of their approach. And their approach is something that I'm still applying at this moment of my life, which is the approach called giver's gain. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, one. And essentially it's what it says, right? You give, and then you gain. Simple concept, very hard to practice. But it took me about 2 years to figure out short-term gains, or whenever you want to talk to anyone, and you're just trying to take, and take, and take, and take, not a good idea to build relationships. Because do you want a taker, or do you want a giver to be your partner?
Giver.
Right, so if you want other people to give, what do? Give. It's a circle, right? You do the stuff you want people to treat you. So then, it applies the same in relationship. It applies the same in businesses. It applies the same in anything in life. If you want to get something from people, you give first. At least this is my principle. And it's very contrary to like Hong Kong business practices. Everyone is trying to be exploitative. Everyone is trying to get more than they're giving, right? And so this is something that we call in the BNI chapter the farmer's mentality, not the hunter's mentality. What you're doing when you're on a daily basis is you're just like practicing putting seeds in the soil, like talking to people, nurturing that relationship, giving. It's tiring. And it's so disappointing sometimes because there's takers outside, right? And they keep taking, and you're like, the fuck? I thought it's a giver's gain thing, right? So, but why? Why does it work? And I think it's because when you're giving, you're not, or at least I would advise you not try to expect people to give you back, and not right away. But when you're giving, tell yourself you're actually building a reputation. Trying to tell yourself you're trying to build trust so that when in need, someone will actually come to help you. And I think that is a long game that people don't play as often as they should. And I think that is also something that, it took me 5 years, 7 years to keep practicing. Like, giving is an art. You know how to give, when to give, who to give, and when to not give, right? There's a lot of art in it. And I think this is something that it took me a lot of energy, a lot of disappointment, but I want to say, at this moment of my life, I can see the rewards that I have spent for the past 10 years, 15 years of doing this practice of just building trust, being a little bit more generous than other people, and now at least I have someone who's here to listen to my talk, so I'm thankful for that. Now, the third story I want to talk about is how I raise money for the first co-living space called Chiang Mai. I am not a startup founder. I do not have a lot of savings. I needed about $800,000 to build the first co-living, co-working space. And I was just talking to people, right? I was just practicing what I was practicing. No expectations, giving, telling people about this, don't know when I'm going to get someone to actually believe in something that I've never done before. A brick and mortar business in Chiang Mai about some community thing, right? Now, when I talked to my friend, he said, okay, let's do this. And I was like, wait, what? Because he's the last person in the world that I would expect to give me the money to do this. And I asked him, like, are you sure? Because I've known him since primary school, and this is like a relationship that is more than 20 plus years when we started this journey. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's not super rich either. And I asked him, but our relationship is at stake. So I don't know if you've had business partners before or if you've asked money from your friends before. I am terrified to ask money from friends. Because if you fail, not only do you lose the money, your friendship is at stake. And that for me is a double fear. But it's also very rewarding in the sense that when you have that trust and when people give you that money, they give you the freedom to do whatever you want to do about it, if they trust you. So, another thing that I practice is, when it comes to a decision that I have to make, money, relationship, what's more important? Relationship. It's okay if I lose that transaction. It's okay if I have to give a refund. It's okay if the person is being unreasonable. Fix the relationship first, and then you deal with the money part later. So last year I was talking on my experience to raise funds to build the second co-living and co-working space called Alt-Ping River, which is now 1 year in operation. It was a very emotional moment for me when I spent about 10 months talking to more than 50 people, sharing them the story and saying, I need money. So now there's about 30 people in the cap table. Half of them are actually just co-livers from Alt Chiang Mai that I wouldn't say we have a super tight relationship with, but they decided to give me the money. And I don't want to say this is luck. There's a luck factor to it. But I also want to believe it's all those years of practicing the things that I just shared with you that led me to this moment, and people have said, here you go, make good use of it, make us proud. And there will be rewards if you keep trying. And again, it's the hardest thing that you can do, I feel, but maybe not so hard for you after this talk. But essentially, Alt is a place of relationships. I love doing this because I want to take up the challenge. And the problem we're solving is actually something that we all know, but we don't talk enough, which is loneliness. Yeah? People ask me, like, why do even people need to be in co-living spaces? Like, what is the point? It's like an overpriced hostel with messy people that you have to deal with or potentially have conflict with. And usually the operators will say, because it's a community thing. Yeah, but why do I have to pay to be in this community? What is my gain, right? So I want to flip it a little bit around and say, well, don't see it as something that you're going to gain from right away, but see it as an exercise of practicing how to build meaningful relationships. There's a lot of talks today that tells you how to do things, how to be more productivity, how to be more productive, how to automate and all that. Those are all great. But to learn how to build relationship, I don't think it's necessarily gaining knowledge. It's more understanding perspectives. You can have one topic and 10 perspectives. And if you talk to people, you realize the perspective you have is only something that you think it's the truth. But other people don't believe in it, or they see it a completely different way. And I think in the road of self-development, to understand people's perspective, to try to respect it, try to have a conversation on why you disagree on that, is something that you can really, really benefit if you were to put yourself in a place like a co-living space, or in a conference, or just having a talk about something you have passion in. And so I want to believe that this is something that I'm doing to help with people that sometimes feel lonely, but they want to learn how to not be lonely, and maybe this is the solution for it. Final page, 2 minutes left, perfect timing, good job. Thank you. Has anyone read this book before? One person. Did you like it? Yeah? The author is a psychologist that wants to understand what is the common traits of people being successful. And of course, there's a lot of books and a lot of studies about this. But grit is, I think, one of the hardest skill, because it takes the longest, but one of the most rewarding skill that you can have if you want to overcome challenges. It's not easy, and you don't know when the reward is. But if you practice grit, if you don't give up, if you deal with those messy human relationships over and over and over and over again, then maybe you can beat AI and you can beat the machines. Thank you.